CBC's Rosemary humiliated. Carney admission triggers shocking credibility collapse. Prime Minister Mark Carney's recent policy initiatives have sparked intense debate and scrutiny across Canada, as citizens, industry leaders, and economists alike question the long-term impact of his economic strategies. While his administration has introduced programs aimed at revitalizing critical industries, many are concerned about whether these measures are realistic, sufficiently funded, and aligned with Canada's broader economic priorities. Observers note that ambitious announcements risk being overshadowed by unclear implementation plans. In a bold move, Prime Minister Carney unveiled a federal budget that attempts to balance austerity with selective investment, an approach meant to stimulate growth while maintaining fiscal discipline. Facing a 1.6% contraction in Q2 and rising unemployment of 7.1%, Carney proposed a $5 billion Canadian dollars by Canadian initiative to support domestic industries impacted by U.S. tariffs. Critics argue that while the gesture is politically appealing, it may be insufficient to counter deeper structural challenges. Carney's announcement of an $80 million investment in Atlantic Canada's seafood sector has raised eyebrows among economists, industry stakeholders, and regional officials. With 64% of Canadian seafood exports going to the U.S., 20% to China, and only 6% to Europe, the emphasis on European markets has been criticized as misaligned with actual trade flows. Analysts warn that targeting a smaller market may limit returns on investment, creating inefficiencies and missed opportunities, and question the government's practical understanding of the seafood economy. The canola industry has expressed significant disappointment with the federal government's support measures. With China effectively closing its market to Canadian canola products, farmers face unprecedented losses and uncertainty. Industry leaders have argued that the relief package, though publicized as a solution, falls far short of what is needed to stabilize the sector and maintain global competitiveness. More targeted, immediate support is deemed essential to protect jobs and sustain this vital agricultural industry. Prime Minister Carney's climate competitiveness agenda, emphasizing modernization of Canadian industries through green initiatives, has generated a mix of praise and criticism. While promoting eco-modernization and low-carbon competitiveness aligns with international sustainability trends, detractors argue that these initiatives often prioritize private investment gains over practical economic outcomes. Questions remain about whether the programs will truly strengthen domestic industries, protect Canadian jobs, and maintain competitiveness in international markets. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has sharply criticized Carney's approach, arguing that the policies neglect pressing domestic concerns such as the rising cost of living, increasing job losses, crime rates, and immigration pressures. Poilievre advocates for more practical, enforceable measures, including stricter immigration policies, better negotiated trade deals with the U.S., and stronger law enforcement initiatives. He maintains that Carney's announcements often rely on vague bureaucratic language while failing to provide tangible solutions. CBC's chief political correspondent, Rosemary Barton, has drawn attention for her handling of interviews with Prime Minister Carney. In a high-profile instance, Barton appeared to lack awareness of Carney's climate competitiveness strategy, raising concerns about journalistic oversight. Critics argue that such lapses highlight the media's responsibility to rigorously question political leaders and ensure transparency. Public confidence in media accountability has been shaken as observers question journalists' preparedness. Carney's public addresses have displayed a mixture of austerity-focused policies and ambitious investment pledges, producing a sense of contradictory messaging. While promising targeted relief for wildfire victims and small businesses, he has not clarified funding mechanisms or timelines, creating uncertainty about actual implementation. This combination of ambitious rhetoric and opaque planning has left Canadians skeptical of the government's ability to deliver meaningful results. Reports indicate that federal funds continue to flow to projects abroad, including investments in China, prompting accusations of hypocrisy and mismanagement. While domestic industries like Canadian steel and IT sectors are cited as priorities, inconsistent support and international commitments suggest conflicting objectives. Critics argue that such policies reflect contradictions in Canada's broader economic strategy, potentially undermining trust in government decisions and diluting the impact of domestic stimulus efforts. Analysts and critics alike insist that Canada requires immediate, decisive action to address urgent challenges such as rising living costs, shrinking employment opportunities, growing crime rates, and unregulated immigration pressures. They argue that vague policy language, delayed programs, and initiatives primarily benefiting private interests are insufficient for meaningful reform. Without concrete, actionable solutions, Canadians and industries may continue to face uncertainty despite repeated government assurances. Until accountability and transparency are fully enforced, Canada's economic growth and key sectors remain vulnerable under Carney's leadership. Canadians have observed a government that talks about solutions but struggles to clarify funding allocations, negotiate critical trade deals, or empower domestic industries effectively. This perceived lack of clarity risks eroding public confidence in the administration, as citizens and business leaders alike seek consistent, reliable strategies that deliver tangible improvements. As Canada navigates increasingly complex economic realities, the necessity of balancing ambitious initiatives with practical, results-driven policies becomes evident. Green modernization and sustainable industrial strategies are essential, but they must be grounded in the realities of Canadian markets, export capabilities, and workforce requirements. Only by aligning innovation with practicality can Carney's government hope to foster long-term growth, secure domestic jobs, and ensure public investments produce measurable benefits. Canada now stands at a critical economic and political juncture. The decisions made by Prime Minister Carney's administration will shape the nation's financial and industrial landscape for years to come. Policy choices must be informed by accurate market insights, strategic prioritization of domestic needs, and a clear commitment to the welfare of all Canadians. Failure to act decisively could leave industries vulnerable, markets uncertain, and public confidence in the federal government severely weakened.